This is a nurse named Nurse, played by actress Laura Hammond on 1923, and don't get too attached.
Would you mind sharing with me?
Don't trouble yourself. I'm fine on the sofa.
That proved to be fatal. Don't worry, I didn't spoil too much. The future of the Dutton family ranch does not rely on Nurse. As intense as this scene was, it left a lot of unanswered questions like, okay, actually I'm going to start spoiling things now, so go ahead and look away in 3, 2... Add a wolf to Cara Dutton's kill count in 1923. If you're keeping track, her trophies now include a wolf, a mountain lion, and that sad sack from season 1, episode 3 who just couldn't get his gun loaded in time. And we may not be done yet.
Of all the things I've had to do for this ranch, this takes a cake.
Poll time. Who is the ultimate female boss in Yellowstone franchise history? Is it Margaret Dutton? Is it Beth Dutton? Or is it Cara Dutton? I'm not sure I'd take Cara Dutton in a fight with Beth. I mean, she's in her 70s, but she is by far my favorite Dutton woman to watch on television, and it sounds like she's just a joy to work with.
Like, the number one thing that I have taken from working with her is that, like, she genuinely loves this, and she's so passionate, and, like, every single day she cares about every single scene and every take. And I think just, like, that level of dedication is why she is who she is. And so I was just very inspired by that.
Link to that interview below. Michelle plays Elizabeth Randolph, and it's actually her who first offers a taste of blood to our wolf friend. She's just doing her chores when she enters the chicken coop to find there was literally a wolf in the henhouse. Everyone thinks the wolf has rabies, so the doctor and a nurse are called, but because of the blizzard, they have to stay the night.
Would you mind sharing with me?
Don't trouble yourself. I'm fine on the sofa.
She should have taken the bed. But how in the heck did the wolf get in? I mean, is this thing like a velociraptor in Jurassic Park? Can it open doors? Yeah, this seems pretty unlikely. I think we just have to accept that someone didn't latch the door properly and the wind blew it open, and then the wolf saw an opportunity to finish what he started with Liz. Yeah, it's a bit of a leap, but you know what? There have been so few plot holes and loose ends during 1923, I'm willing to accept it. Online, several outlets have tried to explain a greater significance to the wolf, and no shade to Screen Rant, they do some really good work, but they don't really drill down on the meaning here, and I think that's because there really isn't one. I mean, sure, wolves have played a huge part of Yellowstone folklore, so it's tempting to think back to Casey's vision quest and the wolf that told him he'd found a home at the end of the series, and think that Cara's wolf foretells some great decision or tragedy. But this wolf isn't a metaphor, it's real. I mean, it's in the dang house. During this brutal season on the ranch, nobody needs to tell the Duttons that danger is lurking. That's literally on their mind every second of every day.
Storm passes, I'm going home.
Yeah, nobody believes that's gonna happen. In just a moment, we'll break down the next leg of Spencer's trip home because astute 1923 fans noticed a detail that is just chilling. After that, why does Marshall Kent look so dang familiar? But let's stay in Montana a little bit longer. Jacob and his men are in Bozeman to try to pop wagon boss Zane free. If you recall, his wife is in jail for miscegenation. He's more or less invalid. The sheriff joins Jacob in asking the judge to just let the family return to the ranch with him. Yeah, the judge needs a little convincing.
We'll tell you the name of the preacher when you give us the name of your liquor contact. How does that sound?
You know, Roy, maybe we ought to wander on over to my office and have a little chat about this.
This next part sort of exposes Montana's dirty little secrets. I mean, the show Yellowstone was about as good for the state's tourism as you can imagine. 1923 is trying to undo all of that by reminding people that winter really sucks there. It starts with Elsa at the beginning.
The blizzard drives man and animal both mad with hunger and cold, and the disorienting nature of no sun or moon, which is to say, no direction.
Then the wolf, and now Jacob and his team are hiding under an overturned wagon because they got trapped in a blizzard. Real talk. Were knit hats not a thing in the early 20th century? I mean, nobody has their ears covered in these frigid temperatures, which, as a kid who grew up in the North, that's just bananas. I first thought about this as I watched Banner and Don Whitfield climb that mountain to learn about skiing. Everyone seems woefully underdressed, but I guess they're too old to have mothers who chastise them. This scene between Don and the Norwegians is actually pretty important because it gets us here.
Today, we begin making Montana a playground for the elite.
That's from the official Season 2 trailer, and subscribers are familiar with the action and the theory. It's literally what the Duttons are up against in Yellowstone as well. Time is a wheel, isn't it? And speaking of that...
Luca comes back with the money. We shake hands next time we meet.
Episode 3 of Yellowstone should literally be a homecoming for Spencer Dutton. And I don't mean he makes it to Montana. That's probably an episode or two away. He'll end up in Fort Worth, Texas, which is where his dad, James Dutton, began his journey in 1883. If you watched last week's episode preview video, we went deep on this. Spencer seems to be tracing his family's route home. Unlike the wolf, I do think this is important to the story arc, and it's part of why I believe Spencer's story ends in tragedy. Link to that theory below, as well as one called I Know How 1923 Ends, and I Hate It. There's another coincidence coming, one that seems all but guaranteed. But first, raise your hand if you recognized this guy. Salvador Maceo is played by French actor Giles Marini, and he's done a ton of television work, but most famously finished second to Sean Johnson during Season 8 of Dancing with the Stars. I'm a sucker for early 20th century mafia stories, like the show Peaky Blinders, probably my all-time favorite. So I loved every moment of Spencer interacting with Lucas' family in Galveston. Spent like an hour doing research on the Maceos crime syndicate, and none of it really seems all that relevant now, other than the fact that these men were to be taken very seriously. Spencer does not take them very seriously.
Senora Maceo said to escort you to a room, and then to the Hollywood. When Senora Maceo asks you to do something, you must do exactly the thing that he asks.
Dude, just take a night. In my opinion, he's to blame for the beating, but it does lead him to getting access to a truck that could take him to Montana as long as he can safely drop off bootlegged liquor in Fort Worth first.
For the police, you can be bribed. And for the police, you can't.
100% think that both of those items will be used next week, and it could be why he has a run-in with this woman.
You're 30 miles from anything. Where are you headed?
Montana. Family needs me.
We meet Marshal Mamie Fossett, played by Dexter actor Jennifer Carpenter.
I doubt you traveled from Montana to question my ability to serve this badge. You need something. And if you have any hopes of getting it, you'll ask for it now before I throw you out of my office.
Mamie was a real-life U.S. Marshal, and on 1923, she hesitantly agrees to help Marshal Kent search for Teonna, but we know she's going to interact with Spencer Dutton soon. Anyone else see where this is headed? I mean, Spencer is soon to be one connection away from Teonna, which did not see that coming. Their meeting seems inevitable and hopefully fateful, because I'd love nothing more than to see Spencer plug this guy.
You patrol this territory, serving warrants, making arrests. Why do I find that hard to believe?
'Cause you're a bigot, living in the wrong century, Marshal.
Dude is the worst. I mean, in Season 1, I thought he was a good guy because of how he admonished Father Reynaud for killing Native American girls, but somehow the priest looks like the good guy now. Not gonna show you what he did during Episode 3, but he seems to get some sick pleasure out of killing Native American children. If Spencer is able to kill both him and the priest, he'd be my favorite character ever. By the way, Marshal Kent is played by actor Jamie McShane, who played Detective Langford in Season 1 of Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix, and Sheriff Galpin in Season 1 of Wednesday. Marshal Kent is more or less the same character as those guys, kind of a hard-nosed cop who ends up being really dirty. He also played a cop on Bosch, but I couldn't watch that show past the first episode.
Capiche?
One kind of funny moment from Spencer's trip to Texas, he discovers pizza. Yeah, this show just gives us these little moments of levity. Really appreciate it. You can add pizza to skiing, the ice box, and motor cars on a list of inventions that we really take for granted 100 years later. Adison Haager is going to join me for your questions, comments, and conspiracy theories in a moment. But first, let's talk about Teonna. So far, Season 2 has been good to Teonna.
Must have been quite the hunt you were on. Took all night. We don't see any meat.
We fell asleep by the river.
Deal. I hate it when that happens.
She's in love, She's not being brutally attacked. She seems safe. The only plot development here is that her dad runs his horse, agrees to track down the owner of the ranch to see if they can stay there forever, or at least for a long while. If you recall, that ranch owner is Charles Goodnight, who was played by Taylor Sheridan in 1883. I 100% believe he'll make another cameo soon, because Charlie was still alive in 1923. I also think he'll meet up with Spencer again. Staff at tasteofcountry.com with your questions and comments, and now joining me now is my Dutton Rules podcast co-host Adison Haager. Who's up first?
Billy, we've got 5 for us today, so I'm going to get right to it. The first one's from Bo, who says, in 1883, Elsa and Sam have a horse race. Elsa wins, and Sam presents her with his knife in a beaded sheath. In 1923, it appears on Spencer's belt. I also believe it is the knife that Beth used to kill Jamie.
So many weapon sort of similarities and like coincidences. That's like a big part of the conversation this week. And I can definitively tell you that Spencer does have Elsa's knife. That's a thing.
How do we know that?
In 2023, he talked to Business Insider and he confirmed that that was a fact. In fact, it was his idea for Spencer to carry his Elsa's knife. They were trying to build out the character.
Oh, cool.
The part about Beth using that knife to kill Jamie, I'm not as sure for a couple of reasons. One, there are other important knives. If you remember in the beginning of season 1 of 1923, Jacob gets a knife from the Native Americans after he gives them all a banner of sheep. But also, man, it's just hard to see like what the knife Beth uses looks like, but it seems to be quite a bit longer than the knife I see in the sheath on Elsa's person. It looks more like kind of like a, I don't know, almost like a butcher knife of some sort, or like it's a different kind of blade. It doesn't seem like a knife you would carry in like a sheath on your hip.
I agree with that. The second one that we have is from YouTube, who says, Spencer never came home from World War I before he went to Africa, and he most certainly didn't bring a personal weapon to the war. So that long gun could not have any connection to Montana.
So this is the second half of what I was just saying about how all this weapon conversation, people are thinking that Spencer was carrying around James Dutton's old gun. And this point is that like when you go off to war for the army, you don't get to bring your own weaponry. I don't know if that was, I assume that was the case in the 1920s. They give you some provided ammunition and weapons, but the knife would be an exception to that. I don't think Spencer has the family gun necessarily, but there is a line of thought that, you remember in the trailer, there's a scene where Aunt Cara has a gun out the window and it's a rifle with a scope on it.
Yes.
Some people think that might be Margaret Dutton's weapon from 1883 because she has a gun with a scope on it that she fires.
That'd be cool.
I haven't gotten to the bottom of that one yet. This is like a new one comment that just kind of came up within the last little bit. So if you know the answer.
And I'm like, why is she pulling out that one? I'm interested to see more color on that scene specifically, you know?
Does Cara Dutton lead? Aside from Spencer, I think Cara has the most kills in the show. She's got the one dude and the 2 animals. Like she's got quite a trophy case.
No, she's a badass. Like I think out of all the women, she's not just like you have Beth has a tough exterior and she'll go to town and, you know, take down whoever she needs to. But Cara physically will take care of business. She's like, all right, on the ranch by myself, got to kill a few things. Bada bing, bada boom. Like you don't see Beth constantly having to shoot things. She's emotionally tearing people apart.
Yeah, Cara gets my vote for as well for that poll. She's a tough old broad.
Yeah. I have another one from YouTube for us that says, bro, Texas is massive. Just because Spencer will be somewhere in it at or near the same time rainwaters are what? Hold on. We're going to redo this. Okay. Bro, Texas is massive. Just because Spencer will be somewhere in it or near the same time the rainwaters are doesn't mean they will meet up at all. God, this man just needs to get home already.
So this is my theory that because Spencer is ending through Galveston, he's going to go up north. And now we know he's going into Fort Worth, which is where James Dutton started his journey. The idea being now that he's going to somehow run into the rainwaters, who are a little southeast of Amarillo. His point is massive. You know, what are the odds of that happening? And my point is like, well, they're slim, but this is a fictional universe. So Taylor Sheridan can make anything happen he wants to happen. So
Being from Texas, I hear, yes, Texas is massive, but I lean towards you, Billy, of this is a fictional storyline. And so I feel like I just think it would be quintessential if we had Spencer and the Rainwaters collide.
The one reason I think this may not happen is because I was looking at a map. Do you know how they show that new Marshall, the woman
Yes.
played by Mamie Fossett? She's in a city called Atanarco, Oklahoma, which is due east of Amarillo. So like Spencer would almost have to go out of the way to get to where she is in Oklahoma, unless she meets him south on his way. So it might be a couple episodes down the road, but I'm rooting for it. Am I betting on it? No, but I don't gamble in general. So
2 more for us. Bob from YouTube that says, I love your videos because you're the only ones who are actually human beings, not AI reading ChatGPT scripts. I don't always agree with your analysis, but it's always well thought out. Adison is adorable. Bob, thank you. I take that one to heart. I like that last sentence. Just pumping up my ego, Bob.
And I'm actually going to burst Bob's bubble. Adison is AI generated.
Yeah. What? Glitching?
Something that you might not have known at home. She's just, I punch in a few keys and this is what I came up with. I'm not a very good programmer. Hey, I'm sorry. I apologize. That was too
Actually, Billy's no longer allowed to say dad jokes. Those are not AI generated. The last one I have for us is from Rockwall. Whew, my W's today. 69. Saying, just want to say you are a great sport for taking endless crap from us, me included, in these comments, but we keep coming back because we love your breakdowns even when we disagree. Also, never forget Marquette equities.
People rubbing my nose in that. That was from my Yellowstone recaps when I kept saying Marquette equities instead of Marquette equities. I don't know why I did that. But that was one of my great fails. Saying Spencer was in Long Island instead of Galveston was another one. I swing for the fences,
And then saying, what was it? Was it 1880? No, maybe it was 1923 where you kept calling a coyote. Oh, no, it was Landman.
Oh,
you were calling the coyotes wolves.
That's right. I was showing my Detroit, and I called the coyote outside of, what's the family's name?
I was hoping you weren't
Norris.
going to ask me. Literally, all of a sudden, I
Norris.
also blinked, and I realized I was like, oh, shoot, Billy's also blinking. This is not good.
Yeah, outside of Tommy Norris, I called it a wolf, which obviously... And now I know what a wolf looks like, thanks to episode 2 of 1923. Do you
Billy
think they
also
used a real wolf, by the way, or do you think that was AI generated?
That one looks more real than the ones on 1923 right now look very AI generated.
I thought the wolf on 1923 was real. I thought the mountain lion they used was AI generated.
The wolf that's in the chicken coop, you think that's real?
Okay, so specifically, I thought the wolf that was chasing Elizabeth across the snow before it bites her, that one looked real. The one in the house and the one in the chicken coop, I did not necessarily think were real. You think they're all fake?
That's good. They must be doing their job for you, AI wise. They absolutely look fake. Watch how it moves. Like you can tell. It's CGI.
I mean, obviously, I'm not the world's expert on wolves. I think we've proven this, if nothing else.
Y'all, every episode I show Billy, here's a wolf, here's a coyote. Now, what are we going to say this episode?
That's how we pregame. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
Staff@tasteofcountry.com, or just drop a comment in the comment section below, and maybe next time.